Princess Diana's secret diary reveals terrifying truths Prince William and Harry never expected. What shocking truths did Princess Diana leave behind in her secret diary? In the summer of 1995, Princess Diana wrote words never meant to be read. Her personal diary reveals a shocking truth about life inside the royal family, something so sinister Prince William and Prince Harry never knew. These secret messages expose the psychological warfare, manipulation, and isolation Princess Diana endured behind palace walls. Documented evidence in her own raw, unfiltered words tells a story of survival that goes beyond the carefully crafted royal image. Stay with us till the end of this video to uncover Princess Diana's secret memo, one that could reshape the narrative of Princess Diana's life and legacy. This is Princess Diana's real story, untouched and unvarnished, a truth that will change everything we thought we knew. What unsettling confessions did Princess Diana conceal in her private writings? In mid-1995, she penned words she believed no one else would ever read. These entries expose a haunting reality within the royal household, an undercurrent so dark that even Prince William and Prince Harry were oblivious to its scope. From psychological pressure to high-stakes power plays, Diana's handwritten pages serve as a raw account of her fight to maintain identity and dignity behind the palace facade. We invite you to listen until the very end, because what lies in these hidden entries might permanently transform the story we thought we knew about Princess Diana. Let's step into her world, untouched, unfiltered, and utterly eye-opening. 1. Princess Diana's struggles behind the crown. The image of a princess typically conjures up visions of wealth, ease, and enchantment. Yet Diana's diary depicts a life closer to a cage than a fairy tale. She described many days feeling profoundly isolated, even when crowds or cameras surrounded her. The strict protocols, the unspoken rules of decorum, and the relentless watch of palace staff made her existence feel less like a life and more like a never-ending performance. Every step, every gentle wave, and even the angle of her smile were meticulously scrutinized. To the public, she was the people's princess, a figure of elegance. Within the palace walls, however, she felt like a chess piece moved by unseen hands. This sense of being perpetually monitored wore her down psychologically, fueling her determination to keep some essence of herself intact. Her diary reveals that becoming a royal bride did not mean winning life's lottery. It often meant surrendering personal freedom in exchange for a title. 2. The unspoken reality of her marriage to King Charles. When Diana wed Charles, the world cheered for what was hailed as a fairy tale wedding. Her private writings, however, paint a vastly different picture. From the outset, she wrestled with the painful reality that Charles's heart already belonged to Camilla. It was no rumor. It was openly acknowledged within certain royal circles. Diana felt humiliated in the global spotlight, realizing her relationship was less a partnership and more a carefully orchestrated royal act. She spoke of trying to preserve her dignity while tabloids splashed speculation about her husband's affections. Her private lines overflow with sorrow and betrayal, not only from Charles, but from a system that valued tradition over genuine emotional bonds. She was there to produce heirs and bring fresh charm to the House of Windsor, yet found herself trapped in a narrative she couldn't rewrite. 3. A mother's anxiety for William and Harry. Beyond the formal tiaras and stately dinners, Diana was a devoted mother, one who lived with a persistent fear for her son's mental and emotional well-being. She foresaw how the monarchy's unyielding pressures might crush William, the future king, beneath responsibilities he'd inherited but never asked for. She also worried that Harry would be perpetually relegated to the background, living in his brother's shadow without a clear sense of individuality. Her journal reflects countless strategies and heartfelt resolutions about how she could guard both boys from the emotional isolation she had endured. She wanted them to recognize their humanity first, rather than merely play the roles assigned by birthright. It wasn't enough simply to educate them about royal duties. She longed for them to hold on to their warmth and authenticity despite the palace environment. Fourth, intrigue and power plays within the palace. Palace corridors might look splendid, but Diana's diary contends they teemed with veiled schemes and internal rivalries. She sensed certain courtiers were intent on keeping her in check, subtly shaping her public persona to fit their ideal mold. Far from being paranoid, Diana had an astute grasp of palace hierarchy. She recounted conversations that felt more like strategic negotiations than cordial banter. The environment she described resembled a well-decorated chessboard, with each staff member, advisor, and relative adhering to unwritten agendas. Political alliances and subtle manipulations weren't confined to parliaments. Diana realized they thrived in Buckingham Palace as well. Her writings hint at an exhausting effort to maintain her dignity while maneuvering among experts skilled in royal protocol and public relations. 5. Wrestling with mental health behind closed doors. During the 1990s, acknowledging mental health struggles was still uncommon, especially within the monarchy. Diana's courageous candor in her diary provides insight into her bouts of depression and battle with bulimia, an illness fueled by relentless public scrutiny and profound personal stress. She questioned how she could be an effective mother when she herself felt shattered inside. Her writings reveal both despair and dogged hope. She documented the steps she took toward self-care and the stigma she confronted when seeking professional help. Diana's decision to openly share these experiences, later in interviews as well, would pave the way for broader public conversations about mental health. In that sense, her words were radical, offering a compassionate perspective rarely shared by high-profile figures of her era. 6. A mother's boundless love for William and Harry. If there is one theme that pulsates throughout her diary, it's Diana's devotion to her children. Describing William and Harry as her guiding lights, she poured out hope and determination that they wouldn't be molded into unfeeling symbols of monarchy. She wrote intimate notes assuring them of her unconditional support and encouraging them to nurture their own passions. Rather than allowing royal status to define who they were, she wanted them to channel it for meaningful causes. Such reflections underscore just how intentional she was in her motherhood, breaking away from the centuries-old tradition of emotional distancing in royal child rearing. In her eyes, titles might be inherited, but genuine kindness and empathy had to be learned and protected. 7. Blueprint for an escape, plans beyond British shores. One of the more surprising revelations is Diana's plan to relocate, possibly to the United States, envisioning a fresh start, away from intrusive paparazzi and palace constraints. Her diary outlines detailed considerations, including how her charitable work could continue seamlessly overseas and how her sons might adapt. This wasn't an impulse based on fleeting discontent. It was a meticulously crafted strategy. She recognized the weight of the monarchy was stifling her sense of self. And it wasn't about rejecting her duties, but reclaiming the freedom to shape her own future. Her potential move had global implications. Imagine a beloved British princess launching new humanitarian initiatives from across the Atlantic. The idea alone highlights her willingness to challenge traditional royal expectations in order to safeguard her family's well-being. 8. A battle on the media front. For Diana, the press functioned less like an impartial observer and more like an adversary waiting to pounce. She frequently lamented that the tabloids would pursue her relentlessly until there was nothing left to exploit. Yet as much as she suffered under media scrutiny, her diary also shows how shrewd she was about public perception. She observed how one misleading photograph or rumor could incite a global media storm. That awareness allowed her to skillfully harness the spotlight when it came to her humanitarian causes, such as raising awareness about landmines or AIDS. In the end, her relationship with the media was a paradox. She despised the intrusion into her private life, but saw glimpses of how media attention, when harnessed responsibly, could shift public opinion toward empathy and action. 9. Humanitarian ambitions far beyond ceremonial roles. Contrary to the tradition of safe royal patronages, Diana's plans were revolutionary for her time. Her diaries delve into her aspirations for dismantling the stigma surrounding AIDS patients and eradicating landmines worldwide. She aimed to go beyond protocol photo ops, envisioning hands-on involvement that challenged public perceptions. She even laid out strategies for collaborating with international NGOs and setting up extended outreach programs. In an era when royals mostly attended ribbon-cutting ceremonies, Diana's personal involvement, whether hugging AIDS patients or walking through a cleared minefield, was trailblazing. Her writings reveal she was deeply invested in global humanitarian issues, not merely fulfilling the obligations of royal patronage, but championing causes with genuine compassion and resolve. 10th, Premonitions of Danger. Among the diary's most startling passages are Diana's grim reflections on her personal safety. "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident," she wrote in one entry, suggesting she understood the volatile political and media landscape surrounding her. She felt her phones might be tapped, her movements tracked, and her intentions misrepresented by powerful forces. Whether these concerns were fueled by real threats or a result of intense emotional strain, her words highlight her heightened sense of vulnerability. She believed influential figures within and beyond the royal sphere would have reasons to keep her in line or silence her if necessary. To Diana, these were not delusions, but informed instincts honed through years of witnessing how the palace and the press worked behind the scenes. 11th, a transformative lens on the royal institution. Diana's personal observations about the monarchy expose a stark emotional chill beneath its grandeur. Her journal called it an institution that doesn't allow room for human frailty, prioritizing impeccable public image over genuine warmth. In her view, the system cultivated an environment where feelings were suppressed to maintain a flawless royal facade. She wondered what hope there was for true connection when tradition took precedence over authenticity. Her diary suggests that the monarchy's unwritten rule was, "The show must go on, no matter the personal toll." By stripping back the glittering exterior, Diana's words remind us that titles and palaces don't guarantee an emotionally nurturing environment. 12th, yearning for genuine affection and trust. Beyond her official engagements, Diana sought real emotional connection, a safe space where she could reveal her fears, hopes, and vulnerabilities. She wrote about her difficulties in finding anyone who related to her as Diana, the woman, rather than Diana, the Princess of Wales. Her diary mentions heartbreak, disillusionment, and instances where she gave her trust only to be met with a betrayal. She acknowledged she was sometimes drawn to relationships that seemed to promise the understanding she never found within palace walls. These revelations illuminate her deep longing for honesty and closeness, for someone to see her soul rather than just the tiara. 13th guiding lessons for William and Harry. Of all her diary entries, The messages addressed directly to William and Harry stand out as some of the most poignant. She counseled them, don't ever let the crown overshadow your true self. She urged them to remain compassionate individuals first and foremost, teaching them that kindness and love were greater measures of royalty than ceremonial titles. Diana's guidance resembled a survival manual, preparing them for a life in which personal expression is often stifled. She hoped to instill values that would allow them to challenge the monarchy's more rigid customs. Her words provided a moral framework designed to preserve their humanity no matter how enveloping the royal machine might become. 14. A mirror to her own regrets. The diary isn't simply an exposé of royal life, it's a personal reflection of Diana's own regrets and second-guessing. She wrote candidly about periods when she felt paralyzed, choosing not to protest her circumstances or failing to demand the respect she deserved. Yet through her scribbles, you can detect an evolving sense of self-worth. Each line about mistakes is balanced by a resolve to grow, to redefine her boundaries. This interplay of regret and resilience showcases her transformation from a timid young bride into a determined figure confronting the monarchy's limitations. 15. Public image, a relentless burden. It's easy to forget that every smile and wave Diana gave in public was meticulously documented and dissected. She equated living in the royal spotlight to a perpetual balancing act. One misstep could lead to relentless media backlash. Her diary expressed a sense of claustrophobia, where private life and public persona blurred beyond recognition. Yet in many ways, she also harnessed that attention to champion charities and social causes. The very cameras that invaded her privacy also broadcast her humanitarian message to millions. This duality, prisoner of the spotlight and skilled media influencer, further underscores the complexity of Diana's life behind the headlines. 16. Healing as a defiant act. Diana's journey toward emotional recovery was anything but straightforward. Her writings, detailed therapy sessions, and self-help readings that at the time were revolutionary steps for a public figure with her level of celebrity. I'm learning to breathe again, she wrote, capturing her struggle to reclaim her identity in a kingdom that demanded conformity. These passages resonate with profound courage. Her drive to heal spoke volumes about her resilience and willingness to challenge stigmas around therapy, especially within a family that prized stoicism. In confronting the demons that haunted her, she was paving her own path to personal autonomy. 17. Motherhood in the harsh royal spotlight. Raising children is challenging under any circumstance. Doing so while the entire world watches magnifies every choice and mistake. Diana's diary highlights her constant balancing act, ensuring that William and Harry grew up with emotional warmth while respecting the age-old protocols of monarchy. She recounted small but meaningful gestures, like taking them to casual outings away from royal grounds, or inviting them to engage directly with the people they'd one day represent. In her eyes, these experiences were critical for developing empathy and humility. Each entry emphasizes her unwavering resolve to give her sons the ordinary childhood moments she rarely got to enjoy, even though they carried the weight of future kingship. 18. Reinventing herself beyond the palace walls. Reinvention, as Diana came to understand, isn't about discarding your past, but redefining what your future can be. Over time, her diary reveals how she wrestled with the princess persona everyone else seemed to define for her. Instead of accepting a predetermined role, she imagined a new path, combining her global platform with her personal passions for advocacy. She reached beyond the monarchy's formal events to engage with real issues like homelessness, domestic abuse, and HIV/AIDS awareness. With each new cause, Diana peeled away another layer of the docile princess image, revealing a complex, empathetic woman prepared to confront uncomfortable realities. 19th Grand Visions beyond her royal title. Reading about Diana's future aspirations in her diary is astonishing. She wanted to establish a global network of health programs, champion mental health initiatives, and expand her landmine campaign that famously brought attention to victims of war in Angola. Her vision went far past the typical philanthropic patterns associated with European royalty. She saw her title as a starting point, not a limitation. These plans demonstrate her far-reaching ambition to redefine what it means to be a public figure, someone who uses influence to create tangible, positive outcomes. Her aspirations, if fully realized, would have reshaped not just her own legacy, but possibly the entire concept of royal humanitarianism. 20. Vulnerability as a form of power. If there is one ultimate lesson gleaned from Diana's diary, it's that vulnerability can be transformative. She acknowledged her struggles, her mental health battles, and her emotional pain with stunning honesty, a bold move in a climate where royals rarely expose their inner lives. By doing so, she galvanized empathy worldwide and inspired countless people to share their own stories. She effectively revolutionized the role of public figures by showing that authenticity and vulnerability can coexist with influence and status. In her words, vulnerability wasn't a flaw. It was a courageous choice to reclaim her own narrative from an institution that insisted on perfection. Princess Diana's story is more captivating and heartbreaking than most of us ever imagined. She was a complex individual wrestling with love, power, mental health, and motherhood under an intensity that few in history have endured. For Prince William and Prince Harry, these diary revelations might fill in blanks they never knew existed about their mother's experiences. For the rest of us, they may serve as a reminder that behind every public role lies a private human story, often far more profound and haunting than we realize. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Which discovery from her secret diary took you by surprise? Did anything here make you question what you thought you knew about the royals? Drop your reactions in the comments section down below. Thank you for staying with us through this journey into Diana's private world. If you found value in this exploration, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And stay tuned. The next installment will uncover even more hidden angles of Diana's life. Don't miss part 2, coming soon, where we'll delve into the untold events surrounding her final days and the extraordinary impact her legacy continues to have around the world. We'll see you there.